Welcome to a day in the life of a UTC grad working at Twitter. Hey guys, my name is Kayla Santos. I graduated May of 2021 and now I work at my dream job. I work for Twitter of Atlanta and here is just a normal day in the office. I definitely have UTC to thank for my confidence professionally. Everyone there taught me to be myself and strive for anything that I wanted. If there was one tip that I could give you, it's definitely to put yourself out there and make connections and network, because you really never know who you will meet on the outside. And that is all, folks. I hope you liked it, and go Mox.
All right, guys, so you remember this picture right here, right? This comparison that was floating around on the internet amid the mass layoffs that were issued by Elon Musk to Twitter. It kind of defines everything that is wrong with woke corporate America and why these companies like Twitter are extremely left-wing, and they have a left-wing bias to the point where basically that dictated who they enforced their censorship policies against and who they chose not to enforce them against. Okay, this first picture right here being the before picture, right, where you got all this diversity and inclusion. Okay, not a straight man in sight. Okay, but a whole lot of women. Okay, a whole lot of so-called people of color, whatever, right? You know, this is exactly what the wokes claim they want. Right, this is what they want. Again, no straight men, right, and just a whole bunch of women, and simps, okay, and non-straight men. This is what they want, right? This is the ideal workforce for them, okay? And again, that doesn't equal productivity. That does not equal the bottom line, which is what these companies are supposed to be trying to do. But like I explained to you guys 1,000 times, that's not what Twitter was trying to do, okay? Twitter was a fraudulent company, okay? They were not trying to actually make a profit. There's a reason why Elon Musk fires over half the company overnight, and the app still lives, right? The company's still surviving despite the woke revolutionaries telling us that, hey, this company couldn't survive, right? They can't survive with all these woke workers, right? And then this is the after picture of Elon Musk with some people who actually really want to show up to work, okay? Who actually really are hardcore about tech, hardcore about coding, hardcore about their jobs. You got one woman in sight back here. She looks like a nerd. Okay, you got a bunch of dudes, okay, they're a little overweight, right? But you can tell, you know, they ready to show up to work and they gonna work, okay? They gonna put in some coding, okay? They're not trying to give up their work visas, okay? I'm keeping it 100. They're not trying to go back to their countries, right? They're trying to stay here in the United States. Like, you know what? I'm gonna put in that work. Look at this guy. He got sweat on his shirt, right? He got sweat because he been putting in that work, okay? And I don't blame him, because I wouldn't want to go back to his country and have to code for $7 an hour, right? Versus what, the 50, 60, 70 that he's probably making working at Twitter. I'm just saying, Elon Musk laid off people based off whether or not they were essential and critical to the core functionality of the company that he wants, which he wants Twitter to be a software engineering company, okay? Not a woke, social services company, okay? A software engineering company, okay? And if you were not an essential part of that vision, he let you go. Or if you did not work hard, if you did not want to come in and put in hours, actually do 8-hour workday, 40 hours a week at the very minimum, okay? If you didn't want to do that, you was out. And it just so happens that most of the people that got cut just so happened to be women. Not because they were women, but simply because they just so happened to be the people that didn't align with the vision, right? And these women that got laid off are now suing Elon Musk, crying sexism and gender discrimination.
Mounting legal troubles after Elon Musk took over the communications platform. Tonight, a new lawsuit has been filed, this one alleging sexual discrimination in the layoffs after he acquired the company. KTVU's Christian Captain live tonight in San Francisco. And Christian, the workers say some of these layoffs targeted specifically here women.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Some of those workers are saying that these layoffs targeted women and the disabled. Now, some of those workers were in federal court today with this latest complaint about how the layoffs were processed after Elon Musk took over Twitter. In new court filings, former Twitter workers allege that layoffs after Elon Musk took over the company targeted women and the disabled. It's the latest in a series of federal court cases that have been filed since Musk took over at the end of October.
We have now filed 4 class action lawsuits against Twitter related to the horrific experiences that these employees have been put through. Elon Musk has every day, it seems like, figured out a new way to trample on workers' rights.
The suits range from employees not being given adequate notification of their layoffs to the latest suit filed alleging that women employees were targeted for termination. The workers' lawyer says the company laid off 57% of its female workers compared to 47% of men. When it came to engineers, 63% of women lost their jobs compared to 48% of men. The attorney said she had a statistician review those ratios.
The chance of that occurring by chance was about 9 out of 100 trillion. So last night we filed a sex discrimination case against Twitter. It's not a huge surprise, unfortunately, that women were hit so hard by these layoffs.
Former workers said Twitter used to be a great place to work, but that the culture shifted suddenly after the purchase.
You know, it changed overnight. I've been through other acquisitions. I've never seen anything like this. And, you know, we just want them to live up to the commitments that they made to us that gave us comfort in, like, staying with the company through the acquisition process.
There are numerous lawsuits working their way through the courts. The attorney for the former workers said even Elon Musk has to follow labor laws.
The richest man in the world is not above the law. Employees have rights here. We are dedicated to make sure that those rights are enforced.
Now, we did reach out to Twitter's communication team and directly to Elon Musk via Twitter. So far, we've not received a response to this latest round of federal court filings. We're live in San Francisco at Twitter headquarters. Christian Cafton, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Busy year for the company. Still have a few weeks left to go. All right, Christian.
Yeah, so they're suing because allegedly there's like a 1 in some trillion chance, right? We should say like 100 trillion or something like that, some ridiculous number, that as many women could get fired as Elon fired during the Twitter mass layoffs. And I'm like, well, I don't think that this really is significant or it really applies here, because it just so happens that maybe, just maybe, men and women are not the same, right? And that would explain why this happened, in the sense that maybe it just so happens that the women at Twitter tend to not work as hard, right? They tend not to be as passionate about coding, right? They tend to work in positions that are not essential to the core functionality of the company that Elon Musk is trying to create. Like, for example, I'm sure that Twitter had a diversity, equity, and inclusion department, which was probably made up of mostly so-called women of color, okay, and LGBTQ individuals. That part of the company, that's not an essential function to the company. Yeah, if I get rid of that department, yeah, I'm getting rid of all the women, right? If I cut 75% of HR, yeah, I'm getting rid of all the women, right? If I cut departments that just so happen to not really focus that much on software engineering, okay, or core functionalities of the company, then yeah, I mean, it's going to be mostly women that are going to get fired. It is what it is. Now, this disparity was still true in regards to the engineering as well too, but hey, I'm just saying, Elon made it very clear what his standards are. Are you asking the question of, did the women meet those standards? Right? Did the women meet those standards? That's what you got to ask. Because that is the reason why they probably got fired, right? If they didn't meet that standard. Not because they had a vagina. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk didn't know half of the people. I mean, I'm pretty sure he didn't know 99% of the people he fired, right? He just said, these are my standards. If you don't want to meet these standards, then you can walk. Here are your papers. It just so happened that women said, I can't meet the standards, I'm quitting, right? More women than men. And then they want to boo-hoo, whine, and complain about, oh, boo-hoo, we being discriminated against. Nope. you discriminate against yourself because you prove that, hey, you're not willing to put in the same quality, same time as men. And I'm not saying that applies to all women. It just so happened that most of the women that were working there were unwilling to do that. He was very transparent about what he expected. It is what it is. The people who really should be trying to sue Twitter are all the people that was censored because of these woke revolutionaries, probably a lot of whom were women that decided to censor conservatives. Had this not been happening, you would have kept your jobs, right? So I only can feel so bad for you because, again, you kind of signed up for this. You made this happen to yourself because you were for discrimination against people who disagree with you politically. Now you want to cry discrimination, right, and victimhood because you feel like you're being discriminated against in response to Elon Musk having to purchase the company because of your discrimination on a political basis. Now, meanwhile, right, the Twitter employees that were laid off aren't the only left-wing woke revolutionaries working at some of these woke companies that are complaining. You also have the New York Times workers. They actually went on a one-day strike. And nobody should be surprised about the things that they are complaining about. Take a look.
What are you guys on strike about?
We've been at the bargaining table for 20 months now. The company is consistently coming into the bargaining table with proposals that are insulting and unacceptable.
The New York Times is making record profits, and the people who make the news need to share in that.
It's a variety of issues, but the big things are we haven't had a raise in over 2 years.
What are they not giving you?
They're not giving basic floor wages of $65,000.
I'll be honest, I don't know the details that specifically.
We have been working through the entire pandemic without any salary increases at a time of record inflation.
Is this about coming back to the office?
It's also about coming back to the office.
Of course, we also want to make sure that we are protecting people. You know, we're still living through a pandemic.
Remote work is part of the negotiations.
We find it ridiculous that the company is maintaining this position, that it have the unilateral right to call us back in 5 days a week.
I thought the New York Times respected unions, so what happened there?
You'll have to ask them.
That's an excellent question. I would love an answer to that as well.
Excellent question. We'd love to hear what the management has to say about that.
Yeah, it's a very good question. We thought the New York Times respected unions too.
What happens to the New York Times when you guys are on strike?
We'll find out.
We have said we're not going to write stories. We have photo people, we have electricians, other people in the building who are not working today. They have to figure it out on their own.
I am refusing to write. I'm refusing to respond to edits.
I imagine they're having quite a hard time putting the publication together.
The New York Times can't run without the people who run the New York Times. And management needs to know that.
If you guys are all on strike, who's going to write the fake news?
Well, we don't actually think that we write fake news.
That feels like a gotcha.
Yeah. So who would have thought? The liberal New York Times is not as pro-union and pro-worker as they claim. They can't even pay them $65,000 a year in New York City, right? Which I can tell you is extremely, expensive city, right? You pay like $10 for a bottle of water. It's crazy. These workers have demands that are similar, right, to kind of Twitter workers, right? Like, they don't want to come into work 5 days a week, right? We want to work remotely. Yeah, they don't want to work 40 hours. They don't want to do any of that, okay? They don't want to do any of that. It just so happens that unlike Twitter, the New York Times is actually profit-driven, right? They're actually trying to make money. And they're like, hey, because we're trying to make money, we're not as union-friendly as we want everybody else to be. And we got to slap some reality into you that, hey, this is kind of how it is. And it's just, again, funny to me how, the liberal hypocrisy once again shows up to bite some of these woke companies in the butt that, again, claim to stand for all these things, but they actually really don't when it comes to their own workers, right, in their own company. It's kind of funny how that works. It's amazing how that works. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.